Hey, what's up? I'm Adam. If you're new here and if you're returning, then you know what's good. Today I want to talk about how I changed my life. Went from one of the worst periods of my life where I was really stuck into one of the best, one of the most productive, and one where I can really see myself achieving the goals that I want to in life. And I want to share practical tips that I learned along the way in the hopes that if you are stuck in a rut right now or if things just aren't going how you'd like them to, this may be useful to you. So let's get into it. So 2020 was... I don't know what the word is to describe what 2020 was, but I know for so many of us, it was one of the roughest years on record. And for me, it was one where I saw myself go from 2019, which graduating with first from one of the best unis in the world, having spent the year traveling, went to Asia, just really living my best life, into just one that was just, I didn't see any way out. I lost my job when the you-know-what hit, and it was almost impossible to get a graduate job at that time. Like, I just couldn't. I just left my master's as well after one term, deciding that it wasn't really for me. I was like, it's a really quite lucrative job market. There's a lot going on, and then boom. And it was just, I was stuck. Like, I literally couldn't move from this position. To top that, I saw myself putting weight on and losing my muscle mass with the gyms closed. All my plans for like wanting to move out and stuff like that, everything was just thrown out the window, to be honest. And for the first time in a long time, I couldn't use the formulas I'd used before, in the same way at least, to get myself out of that place, that position. And it hit me hard. And I felt down for quite a while. And whilst I still tried, obviously, I never stopped trying to get myself out that position. It wasn't seeing the progress that I was used to seeing in my life. And I know for so many people going from school into the real world, the transition is hard enough, or from uni into the real world. You add the whole thing on top of it, it's not great. And so from that, which was one of the worst periods of my life, I transitioned into one of the best. I mean, for starters, I moved into my first apartment here in London. I was able to get a great job, a job that I'm really enjoying, and that... There's recruiters are in my DMs now, like, because I picked a really in-demand job. It's completely different to like really just trying to get your foot in the door to them coming to you. I was able to start traveling again, but like just so much. My YouTube channel started to flourish during that period because I had the time, so I got back on it. I released my fitness guide, my lifting guide. For those of you who've got it, thank you for trusting me with your journey. And it's just so much has changed, and so. I really think actually it was one of the most important periods of my life, going through that rough patch. I think I was so comfortable, and the path I'd been on with university and school had always done me well, right? Like I'd sussed out that formula. It was relatively linear. And so I realized more effort usually yields better results, and there's not that many curveballs that are thrown in. But this was a real test. And so now I want to get into like the practical steps, I think, that you can take, or the tips that I picked up during that transition into, over I say the course of a year that took place. So a good 6 months I was in a really rough place. I try and get myself out of it, and then things started to get better step by step. So my first tip is to identify the weaknesses in the way you view the world and move through the world. And what I mean by this is, for some people, they're super structured, right? Like they know what they want to do, they know how they're going to get there. But there are obviously a lot of downsides that come with that, because if there is anything thrown in your way, any curveball, anything like that, you're not prepared, because you only had one path. There was only one path to get to that end goal. And you're also not open to opportunities. If something changes in the environment and there's a new opportunity, you can often only see it as a blocker. You can only see it as an obstacle because you haven't allowed yourself to view it as anything else. But maybe the way you view the world is without any structure at all. Like you don't really have any goals. You're kind of just going with the flow. And of course, that comes with its own issues, right? Because without some level of goals, well, even though the path may change, it's really hard to stay on track a lot of the times, right? Like think about if you've ever started a fitness journey or, a savings journey or anything like that, where you're trying to achieve something. When your goals aren't clear, it's hard enough. So now having no goals at all is really problematic. And for me, when I was identifying the issues, I realized that I saw the world in a very linear way. And like I alluded to before, I think anyone who's gone through school, university will also likely have this issue, because it doesn't really teach you how to exist in the real world. It's really all about, well, okay, if you just put more work in, things will get better. Like, you will do better. That isn't how it works in the real world. You might keep putting all the work in. You might send off all these applications. You might do all the things that you think you should be doing and still not get anywhere, or not get anywhere at the rate that you expect. And so I had to really confront that with myself. Like, I need to deconstruct how I think the world works, or how I think I can move through it. And so that meant for me being more flexible, being more open to different opportunities. Okay, maybe you're not going to go down the master's route. Maybe you're not going to go straight into this particular type of job. Maybe you're going to have to maneuver a bit. Maybe that's not even right for you, right? Maybe you do well in a more creative position and things like that. So I really had to open my mind up and just let more in, like let myself be freer. And so maybe it's the same with you. Maybe you are way too structured and way too rigid, and you got to lighten up a little bit. Ultimately, I think a major key to changing your life at any point in your life is harnessing the skill of flexibility and being able to pivot. And so that doesn't mean no structure, but it means you are able to move pretty much, kind of with the wind towards that goal. My second tip is to deep your emotions. Now, I'm a very practical individual. When things go wrong or do not go the way that I want them to, I'm trying to work out immediately how I can get back on track. But that's not always the best way to go through life, because sometimes really, really rough things happen. And if you don't allow yourself to feel those emotions, they can come back at other times and really just kick you in the nuts. And that's not great, right? Like, it's good whilst you recognize you're having those emotions to let yourself feel them. Let yourself accept that I am a human being with fluctuating emotions, and that's okay. And there's a power in that. When you allow yourself to have those emotions, that's not to mean you stay in those rough places forever and don't make any attempts to move out of them. But when you have a low point, if you allow yourself to feel that point, then you can start to harness it in different ways. So okay, I'm disappointed right now, or I'm sad because things aren't going the way I want. But how can I use that kind of energy and those feelings to pivot me into the direction I want to? It may start off really small, maybe it means I just start taking a walk every single day because I'm not happy with my body and I'm not happy with my health. So you use that energy to drive forward progress. But you have to allow yourself to feel those emotions. And some days it just means letting yourself feel those emotions and doing nothing. Right? I'm sad. But most of the time, it's like I said, using that energy to drive you forward. So the next tip that I have is identify your goals and your why. I used to see people talk about this all the time, right? Talk about writing down what you want to achieve. And I thought, why do I need to write it down like it's in my head? I don't need to do all that. It's really, really powerful. And I wrote down all the things I wanted to achieve. That includes things like writing down the fact that I wanted to move out. Right? But why? It wasn't just because I wanted to move out for the sake of it. I knew that was the next stage in my growth. I needed those responsibilities. I needed that space. I'd been blessed for so long with a great family that were very supportive. But it's time for me to use that support to move forward. I also said that I wanted a great job. A job that was secure but allowed me to be creative but also logical. I said that I wanted to travel again. I missed it. I loved it. I missed seeing different people, different cultures, different experiences. I missed that. It'd always been a part of my life. So I said that, I need to make that a part of my life again. Identifying your why and writing these things down and holding yourself to them. So if they're written down, you can go back and review them. And I was looking through my journal the other day, and I was like, wow, I really wrote this down and I really achieved this. My next tip, and I've spoken about it in other videos, or at least alluded to it, is once you know what you're trying to achieve, you have to identify what you need to do, the work that needs to be put in to achieve that. So sometimes there's a research phase. So wanting to move out, well, how much do I need to be earning a month? Right? How much do I need saved up? Or if I want a particular job, what skills do I need? Right? How can I improve my CV, my resume so that I get that job? What work needs to be done to achieve these things? I'm out of shape. I'm not where I was and where I want to be. So what do I need to get there? Well, I need to start reducing my calorie intake, and I need to start moving more. I need to start lifting more again, engaging in different types of exercise. Finding the why is great, but then the what? What am I going to do to achieve this? And be very intentional with this. I mean, really specific as you can be, because then there's no room for ambiguity. I know I need to go do this and at this time. And I actually have a video on habits and like introducing new habits into your life. So check that out if you kind of want more of a breakdown in how you can install good habits into your life. My next tip is to surround yourself with people who have a mindset that's like yours. And don't be afraid to be alone sometimes. Now, I've gone through periods of my life where I spent time alone or have a really small friendship group. And I've always been in the thought or the belief that I don't really want friends for the sake of wanting friends. I don't. I have no interest in this. And I've seen what happens to people when they do. And when they just choose friends, not on compatibility terms, but just for the sake of being around people. And there's different reasons people do that. Sometimes they just don't really want to be alone or whatever comes with it. People are great. But they can also hold you back. You can hold other people back, right? And they can do the same to you. So don't be afraid, if necessary, to take some time alone to reset yourself. But also, if you have to move away from certain people, you have to move away from certain people. As hard as it is, not everyone's supposed to be in your life forever. And some people are, and hold on to those people, those great people, those enriching people, those people that you feed into and who feed back into you. But sometimes you have to make hard decisions if you want to get anywhere in life. My final point I want to make is don't let the fear of what others might think stop you from trying new things and new pursuits. I can count quite a few times in my life where I think worrying about what other people think, like starting YouTube and stuff like that, hindered my growth. It stopped me from being the best version of myself, in all honesty. And trying new things, like go to the gym if you've never been before. I know some people are worried about what people at the gym might think. Most people at the gym don't care. If you want to write a book and just write the book. What's the worst that can happen? People don't like it. Okay, you do something else. And that's not to say you be slack with things and you don't put in energy, but you have to take those steps and take that risk. You've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, but you're worried what people might think. Just start the channel. That saying, when people regret the things they didn't do, not the things they did do that went wrong most of the time. So let yourself be free and enjoy all that life has to offer, because there is so much out there. There's so many ways that you can express yourself and move through life and even make money and stuff like that, that you can't hold yourself back because you think somebody might not like what you're going to do. Someone probably won't like what you're going to do. Do it anyway. So anyway, that's it. That's kind of what I wanted to speak about today and share with you. I really hope if you're going through anything right now that this may help you, or maybe you went through similar things. We all have to accept that life is a series of ups and downs, and that's just how it is. But it's always about how you respond to situations versus trying to lead a perfect life. So that's it from me, and I will see you in the next video.